character-driven thriller about a loving but dysfunctional relationship between mother and daughter. It's more than 5 words, but so Scott Free, they sent me the production company sent me the script. I had a few meetings with them, and we were looking to do something together. And what drew me in was, yeah, Brad's writing is so textured, it's so layered emotionally, it's so tense. He's got these rich themes, and it's hard to get all of that stuff into one script, into 110 pages. Usually one of those things is missing. And I just found, yeah, I was affected by it. My heartbeat went faster as I read it, and I kept on thinking about it, days afterwards. There was just so many interesting, yeah, human questions in it. I felt very privileged each morning walking onto set, both because I admire a lot of the work that they've done and I'm familiar with it, and I've looked up to them as actors, but also they all have very collaborative spirits. They're not tricky people to work with. And yeah, they come in super prepared, full of ideas and energy, and yeah, excitement. I don't know how many movie like Julianne has done at this stage, but she walks onto set every day, just sort of buoyant and like with the excitement of someone who was doing their first few movies. And I found that there was a lesson in there for me, because it's so easy as a director to become a bit neurotic or beaten up from the experience. You lose a location, something's not working, you have less time than you thought. But then I was reminded each day seeing, Julie's energy, and I was like, God, we're so lucky to be here. We should be. This is fun, and so they helped loosen me up, and they inspired me each day. It was a real privilege. Tried it to be very grounded, and I spoke to my cinematographer about not being too fussy in the way that we were shooting it, and that we should have the confidence to be understated. So it felt like a lot of the time we wanted to be observational, and so when two characters were sitting opposite each other, we wanted to shoot them in a strong close-up, maybe another shot, and not kick ourselves for not doing something fancier than that, because we're ultimately interested in the human behavior, and we didn't want to get too tricksy with the camera or have too much kind of cinematic engineering or try to show off. So to some degree, rooting it in a reality, we felt that would carry through, and you wouldn't feel sort of the audience wouldn't feel that they were pivoting from one genre to the next. They were always, in something that felt, authentic. Maybe sometimes we wanted to be a bit lyrical or ethereal at a certain moment, or have a poetic observation. But for the most point, yeah, we just kept on coming back to that phrase. Let's just be confidently understated. I think when I read the script, there was lots of new challenges, like working with horses and fire and underwater and above water. And then very quickly, they really became the difficult parts of it, and you started to resent how slow some of those things are. And I thought it was a deceptively sparse and minimal and economic script, and that not that it would be easy, but that everything we could accomplish in the time that we had. But actually, all of those things took much longer than I thought. So I think the really enjoyable part was watching the performances. It was the days when there would be a big argument scene between Julie and Sydney's characters, and it was very tense on the page, and maybe I was a bit worried about how we sustain that amount of intensity when we're shooting it. But you'll see in actors who were looking forward to that moment so much. That was an exciting day for them to really scream at each other and attack each other, and so just seeing such strong actors really unleash on each other, and for them to relish that opportunity, for me, that was gratifying, because I just, we were kind of just witnesses to that. And yeah, it was so fun to see them explode. I think it's the shooting underwater. It's hard. Everything's in slow motion. I think it might have been the first time Julia had done that, and she's been in a lot of movies and kind of done everything up until this point. Um, well, she has done underwater stuff. I don't think it's been much. So there was a steep learning curve for all of us, and it's really difficult for an actor to go down deep, deeper than you would swim, with an oxygen tank. Take a few big gulps of air for that to come off, your mask to come off, and then she hears me directing through another underwater safety person. There's a speaker underneath, and to try and hear the direction underwater, and then perform, and then take the oxygen again and come back up. It's very hard, and I don't know if I could have done it, but she really took it in her stride. Yeah, that was tricky those days. Um, yeah, I try to, hopefully the actors feel like they've always got a lot of room to interpret their roles. Um, and so, I was kind of surprised each day, by the performances. I think, like for Donal, for instance, he was always looking for an opportunity to inject a bit of humor into his character. I don't know if it was always there on the page, and he just thought, like, I think there's something interesting if he thought it was going to be a good counterpoint in terms of texture. And so I find some of the lines he says in the movie like the funniest moments. So I think it's when an actor just brings an inflection or improvises a moment or a beat in a way that I didn't anticipate. Yeah, so that each day was kind of full of surprises in that way. Yeah, for so many people to see it at the same time is great, of course, and because then there's a kind of global conversation about it. And in terms of what they take away from the movie, I hope that I love movies that kind of torture me a bit by the end, where I'm given sort of provocative questions that I don't have easy answers to, and maybe I've got conflicted feelings about what the characters have done, and I identify with them, but they've taken me down a road I don't know if I would go down, but I'm also seduced by it, and I keep thinking and ruminating on the relationships. And so hopefully there's a lot to think about and reflect on when the movie finishes. Yeah.